Hey everybody, welcome back to mdo204, and this is class 10. And we're going to wrap it up by bringing in a new scene into Nuke and compositing it start to finish, and we're going to look at a few cool things that we can do with the different passes. We're going to go pretty in depth, looking at points positions, surface normals, relighting, position to points, and even all the cool things that we can do with our Z-depth pass and how to use it and manipulate it in a cool way. So let's hop into Nuke and get started. Alright, so let me just run you through the three different images that I'm providing. So I'm giving you the plane, which is the foreground. I'm giving you the background, which is just a sky backdrop basically. And I'm giving you the midground, which is the clouds. Now each one of these passes, if you come over here and look at the different channels that it has, you can see that we have a depth output, we have an opacity output, a volumetric scattering output for our clouds. And that's going to be a little bit different from what the plane output has. So we have world coordinates, shading normals, shading incidents, object coordinates, and if we look at the background, it's just the background. So one of the things I want to look at first is the depth output and how we can use it and manipulate it and combine it if we wanted to with depth outputs from other passes. So we could just look at it through here under depth, but then we're stuck looking in depth, and this might confuse us if we are trying to do something and only see this. And that happens a lot. People don't realize that their viewer is in a different channel. So what we're going to do is I'm going to hit tab and type shuffle and hook this up to our image here. Now if I look through my shuffle node, under in, I can shuffle out my depth. So now my depth is being shuffled to my RGBA, and I can see that right here, but I'm still looking at RGBA. If I hit Control and slide my picker down here, you can see that the values are changing, and we can see that it's moving back and forward in space. Now this helps us, but these values are way over white. So they're way over the value of 1. That's fine, because if I were to read in a ZD focus node, I'm just going to hook this up to our image and look through this for now. And then what you're going to need to do is you're going to need to select a focal point. So I can click and drag this. I'm just going to put the focal point in the middle. So if I zoom in here, it doesn't look like much is happening, so we're going to need to dial this in a little bit better. So to do that using the ZD focus node, we could easily come to output and click on focal plane setup. And this will help you see a red, green, and blue overlay. If we zoom in really close, you can see the green overlay here. And that's just telling us what's in focus. So what I'd want to do is increase my depth of field size. And maybe I want to get somewhere, something like that. So the edge of the wing here and the edge of the wing here are going to be slightly out of focus. Same with the tail and the nose here. So I can jump back out of that and then push my size and my maximum size, which is going to defocus those more and more. And I'm going to turn down my depth of field to accentuate that a little bit. So now we can see the middle is still in focus. The back of the tail is getting quite a bit defocused here. But I'm going to delete this, and I'm going to look through my shuffle again and show you how to basically normalize this into a value between 0 and 1. So holding control, I can see that we have a value on the tip of this plane at 21. 21 here, and I'm just holding control while I click and slide this around. So it looks like 21, and let's see here, about 12, 15, 15. So let's say 21 and 15. So if I hit G for a grade node, and I know that my values were 21 and 15, I can, for my black point, I'm going to type in 21 and then white point 15. And now we can start to see the shape coming around this. And actually what I want to do is switch those, because obviously the lower we go, the darker it's going to be. And I can adjust from here if I need to, if I wanted to go darker or brighter. Same with down here. So if I select down here, we can see that this is now just a slightly over 1, and I can dial that down until it is at 1, or I could just clamp my white by clicking here. And now we can see that this is a normalized between 0 and 1, and this was done pretty quickly. We might want to spend a little bit more time dialing this in. But now there's two cool things that we can do with this. We can use this as a mask to grade our image based on depth and not have to worry about pushing and pulling our actual grade values around. It's a lot easier to do when it's between 0 and 1. So if I, under mask, set this to red, although I think this is spitting out. Okay, so I want to set this to red because if I look through this grade, this is my RGB value. If I look at my alpha, it's not changed. So one of the things I could do is double click and set this to RGBA. So now it's affecting everything. So if I look through this grade here, and now I can use red, green, blue, or alpha channel for the grade. So if I gamma up and down, you can see that it's only affecting those areas that are deep in depth. And let me just accentuate this even further. Let me also add some color into it. So you can see how the red is affecting this. You can see how the red is affecting this more than it is on the front end of the plane. And obviously the brightness of the wings of the plane are because these values are a little bit clipped, but the information is still there, so we could grade this even further. But if I exposure down here, you can see that there's a nice fall off to red. So I'm just going to delete that for now, and then I'm going to hit K for copy. And I'm going to hook this up, and I'm just going to copy my depth from this graded branch back into my depth. So I could use the Z depth that has extremely high floating point values, or I could copy the one back in, or just use this as a mat to grade. So the other thing I wanted to show you was Z slice. So if I read that in, I'm just going to hook it up to our grade node here. And I'm going to choose my red channel, and let's look through this. So Z-slice is a way that we can get a depth slice of our object. And there's quite a few things that we could do with this. We can change the width and where that slice is happening. And this itself could be used as a mask if we wanted. These are all animatable, so we could put some really cool like energy, pulse, or glow happening. Z-slice is just a really handy tool that we can use to do quite a few different things. But just like depth isn't only used for depth, you can use it as a mask and stuff like that, we also have other passes that aren't necessarily used for one thing. And I'm going to move this over here. And I'm going to hold Control and click on that dot to branch that off. So we can start to build out this tree here. And I'm going to bring in another shuffle and hook this up and look through that. And let's shuffle out shading normal. So what is shading normal? Well, shading normal is basically the directional value of these pixels. So if we look at red, green, and blue, basically it's shading these pixels based on the X, Y, and Z value of the direction that these pixels are looking. So if we look at red, we can see that the brighter values are the sides of the plane that are facing us more. If we look at green, it looks like the top of the plane facing us more. And if we look at blue, it looks like this would be the other side of the plane, or values that are facing this way a little bit. And we can use this for quite a few different things. But one of those things is grading. So once again, I'm going to hook up my mask to this shuffle. And if we look through this grade node, and I think I want to use green, but I want to invert it. So I'm going to look through my grade node and select the mask green. And let me just turn up blue here to a pretty high value. And click invert. So I've selected green in my mask, and I'm going to just pull up blue pretty high here. And we can see that only the top of the plane is getting some of those bluish values. So if we click invert, now we're going to be able to grade basically the bottom of that plane. And we could take this a step further too. We could easily come in and add a grade node. And while we're looking at our green channel, we could easily only affect our green grading by deselecting the other channels and changing the way our gamma is. So we can see that we can have a nice cleaner fall off towards the bottom of the plane. So if we look at this now, make sure we're looking at our RGBA. So we can see, if we look in here, how that affects the fall off by turning it off and on. And I'm just doing that by hitting D. So that's one way that we can use our normals based on the RGB values of it. But we can use our normals for something much cooler, I think. Maybe not more powerful, but something that's pretty fun and exciting. So I'm going to read in a position to points. Now for this to work, we also need our camera. So I'm going to bring in a read geo and navigate to our scene. And read in that alembic cache, which provides us with the camera. And I don't need to hook up this actual read geo node just yet. So position to points. I'm going to hook this up to the plane. And then hook this up to a scene. So I'll hit tab and type in scene. And then I'm also going to hook my camera up to that scene. So you'll notice if I look through my scene, my camera's there, but nothing else is showing up yet. So there's a few things that we need to do this position to points to get it to work. And one of those is to select our surface normal and our surface point. So we're going to come down and go to world coordinates output. And then surface normal, we're going to select shading normal output. So now if we look through our camera, we actually have a point cloud within our 3D scene that we can use to visualize where this model is going to be in 3D space. And this is really powerful because this allows us to place cards and other things in our 3D scene to work around and interact with our shot that we're working on. And there's a whole bunch of cool stuff that you can do. If you come over here and select vertex selection, we can actually select some of these points and attach cards to these points. So for instance, if I have a card right here, select card, hook it up to our scene, I can now come over here to the snap menu and select any one of these things. So I'm going to select snap selection position. And you can see that this card has now snapped to the selection of those vertices that I've selected. So I'm going to set that back, and now this card is perfectly in line with where I put it, and we could spin it. So maybe we wanted to put someone doing a stunt on the top of the plane here, shot against green screen or something, I don't know. But it's a really powerful way to use position to points to put other things around our 3D scene and model. I'll leave that for there for now. I'll just turn it off. But we can go even cooler with this and do some 3D relighting. So I'm going to move this out of the way. And pull that up just a little bit. And I'm going to read in a relight node. And just like the position to points, this is going to require some setup and information for it to work properly. So I'm going to hook up color to my image, and I'm going to bring in a light. And this light is going to be what's used to relight our scene. And let me just hit spacebar to bring this full. And you can see that this light has now populated our nuke scene. And I'm going to want to get this into place. And you can immediately see as I start to push and pull this around, it's actually lighting up our points here, which is really interesting and powerful. And we can do quite a few things with this. So I'm going to pull this over here. Just get a nice area over here. Now if I look through my relight node, not much is going to be happening. So let me double click that and select our normal vectors to shading normal and our point position to world coordinate output. And we still see that nothing is happening, so there's a few other things that we need to do. You'll notice once I have that set up, on the left side here there's an arrow, and we want to hook up our camera, and there's another arrow that's going to material. Well, what are we going to hook this up to? We want to read in a Phong shader, so let me pull in a Phong. And now I'm going to hook that material up to the Phong shader, and we can see that we instantly get a image here. So now this Phong shader, we can do quite a few different things with this. This is going to control the all of the different things about this shader, and you can see that the shininess here. We can let me zoom out here so we can see this. We can control the specular highlights. We can control the diffuse. So we can control quite a few different things here within this falling shader. I'm going to come back to my light and make this a red light. So now, why is this cool? Why is this powerful? Well, we can add as many lights as we want into our scene here. In fact, I'm going to hook my lights up to this scene and then hook the light up to that scene. So now what this allows us to do is add multiple lights to the scene. Sorry guys, this is getting a little bit crowded over here. I think I'm going to move. It's always good to stay organized. So I'm going to copy and paste this light and hook it up to our scene again and make this one blue. And if I look through my scene here, I'll be able to select my blue light and bring this over. And if we want to see our position in 3D, I could always just look in this scene too. So maybe what I want to do is add these as like blue and red lights coming from the tips of the plane here. And I'm going to pull down this intensity as well. Change the fall off type so we get a nice cleaner fall off here. So if we look through our relight node now, we can see that the blue is only hitting this side of the plane and we have the red only hitting over here. And through a simple merge node, I'm going to set this to plus and look through this. Now we're plussing that light on top of our image. If I turn off this grade node, we can see it a little bit better. So you can see here the blue lights and the red lights over here. And we could animate this. Maybe it's maybe these lights are blinking on the bottoms of the planes. It's just a really powerful way to relight or add light into your scene based off of the actual physical space of this model rather than trying to create masks and stuff like that. Super powerful. So realistically guys, once that's done, it's just building out your tree of A over B. And then once you have these two things composited the way you like, you can put them over the background. And voila, there you have your final comp. Now there's tons of stuff you guys can do. I'm going to let you play grading it the way that you like. Could be that you think the cloud, the top sky is a little bit too dark. Maybe you like the contrast. Maybe you want to bring it a little bit brighter. Something like that. Before and after. It all depends on your personal style. But there's tons of ways that you can use the relights, the different passes to grade different areas of the ship. And then all you need to do is just make sure that each one of these branches is merged on top of the next image in line. Well, that's it. I hope you guys have had fun in this class. I hope you guys have had fun in the whole course. Nuke and Modo are going to continue to work better and better with each other, and it's so exciting to see how powerful they are and how well they work already. I can't wait to see your guys' image. Feel free to play with this one and upload it into the forums to show everybody. And I will talk to you guys next time. Take care. Bye-bye.